Pokémon Legends Z-A just had DLC released, and being a fan of everything Pokemon, I had to get it. I wasn't happy paying that price, but I thought, hey, how bad could it be? Oh man, I had a lot of issues with the main game. I thought overall it was fine, but it was very repetitive at points. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, look at earlier Pokemon games. Walk into this patch of grass, catch this thing, add it to your team, level it up. I think Pokemon games at their core have always been a little repetitive, and that's fine. But this game felt off to me, and as much as I didn't want to admit it, I think the entire game taking place inside of Lumiose is the biggest problem for me. So I was actually pretty excited for this DLC release because looking at the last two main games, the extra content there was you going to an entirely different map, and I'd hoped that this game would do the same. Nope! If I'm being blunt, this DLC is just the main game with a new coat of paint, and that is possibly more lazy than anything Pokemon has ever done. And they've done some lazy shit. The main game already had very little going on in terms of content. You went to the wild zones to catch Pokemon, you went to the battle zones to battle trainers, and you basically did that for 20 hours until you beat the story. And even something as simple as that felt ruined by this DLC. You start the story by meeting Ansha, who, if you didn't know, is the daughter of Diantha, the champion of the X and Y games. She just so happens to have a Hoopa by her side, and they've been traveling through dimensions, I guess? Ansha then says she saw a Rayquaza in what the game calls hyperspace, and she wants us to help her catch it. So how do we go about traveling across time and space? Correct, by feeding Hoopa donuts. Once you're in one of these hyperspace zones, you get 3 random tasks to complete, and are encouraged to collect all sorts of items scattered across the map, like coins, berries, and megastones. And for a majority of the DLC just being that, you think that they would make sure the game works. I guess not. The better berries you have, the better donut you make, and the more time you spend in hyperspace, but spoiler alert, it's just the battle zones again. So in case you didn't like the lazily designed buildings in the main game, you get to stare at them again in the DLC. You enter hyperspace Lumiose through these portals scattered around real Lumiose, and these portals can either be a wild zone, a battle zone, or an encounter with a Mega Pokemon. And as you can imagine, these just feel like more of the main game. Nothing here feels very innovative. Simply put, you're just doing everything you were already doing in the main story, now on a timer. That's it. And I'm just left here confused wondering why they felt the need to keep the game in Lumiose still. Why are we being subjected to never leave the city even when we break the fabrics of space and time? Why not bring back old locations from X and Y while we're at it? That could have been a big selling point for the DLC, but instead we get whatever the fuck this is. It's extra disappointing when you see they created entirely new landscapes for special parts of the DLC. So they're clearly capable of doing these things, but they choose not to. But this is a Pokemon game, and people are buying it mainly for the Pokemon, so clearly that had to do some of the heavy lifting. This DLC only gives you around 130 returning Pokemon. That is a smaller number than some regional Pokedexes. And even if you add that number on top of the base game, it's still less than the base dex of Scarlet and Violet. How did we go from being able to obtain every Pokemon on a $40 3DS game to catching less than 400 on a Switch game that costs double that? Then there's the online battles, which, if you didn't know, the original game required you to do them if you wanted the new starter Mega Evolutions. And normally that would mean buying a whole Nintendo Online subscription for only 3 new forms, but thankfully the game came with a free trial code right out of the box. But I hope you didn't use it yet because they decided to do the exact same thing for the DLC. And I'd argue it's even worse now, because not only did they keep new Mega Evolutions locked behind this gimmick, but existing Mega Evolutions as well. Specifically, the Hoenn starters were not in the base game, so not only do you need to cough up $30 for this DLC if you want a Torchic, you also need to buy a separate online subscription just to Mega Evolve it. It was bad enough that this DLC was comparable to free post-game content in literally any other Pokemon game. So the fact that they went about restricting older Megas from those who don't have Switch Online is ridiculous. But while we're on the topic of Mega Evolution, ranking all new Mega Evolutions in the Mega Dimension DLC, starting with, this one's fine, this one is better. I actually really like this one. This one is great. I like this one about the same as the other one. I prefer the original.
Cut my life into pieces.
I really like the direction they took with this one. It's nice. I see the vision, but why is it sideways? That sure is Golurk. Meh.
It's fantastic.
Say that again?
Yeah, I think this one works. This one just looks like the shiny version. So it's Luxray. I kinda wish they did more with this one. Yeah, sure. I hate this. 10 out of 10. Nice. And that's pretty much it for the DLC. Nothing more than some rehash mechanics and some okay Mega Evolutions. I think the saddest part is that there's usually some sort of excuse for why a Pokemon game didn't meet the expectations of fans. Scarlet and Violet were a mess of a game, sure, but people realized that they were probably rushed in order to get out before the holidays. But this game was announced nearly 2 years ago, and yet we're sitting here talking about the game feeling unfinished, even with the DLC being released. But let me know what you guys think. Did you buy the DLC? Did you enjoy it? Did you not? Let me know in the comments. Till next time.